The FBI told me my husband was a mafia boss. I laughed. I actually laughed in their faces. Then they slid a stack of photographs across the metal table. Vincent. My Vincent. Sitting in a back booth at Carmine's with men I'd never seen before. Vincent shaking hands with someone the agent called the butcher. Vincent counting money in our garage while I was upstairs putting our daughter to bed. I stopped laughing. That was 3 years ago. Vincent's been dead for 2 years. And I'm still trying to figure out if I ever really knew him at all. I met Vincent Calabrese in the summer of 2008. I was 26, working double shifts as a nurse at Mount Sinai, drowning in student loans, living in a studio apartment in Astoria that smelled like old carpet and someone else's cooking. He came into the one night with his hand wrapped in a blood-soaked dish towel. Said he cut it working on his car. I stitched him up. He asked me to dinner. I said no. He came back the next week with flowers. I said yes. Vincent was different from anyone I'd ever dated. He was older, 38, but he had this energy about him. This confidence that made you feel safe just standing next to him. He drove a black Mercedes. He wore expensive suits. He owned a construction company in Queens, he told me. Commercial renovations, government contracts. Business was good, real good. You don't look like a construction guy, I said on our third date. He smiled. What do I look like? I don't know. Someone important. I'm just a guy who works with his hands. Angela, that's all, but his hands were soft. I noticed that when I stitched him up. No calluses, no concrete dust under the nails. I noticed, but I didn't say anything. When you grow up in Brooklyn with nothing, when you watch your mother work 3 jobs just to keep the lights on, you don't ask too many questions when someone shows up and makes you feel like maybe life doesn't have to be so hard anymore. Vincent courted me the old-fashioned way. Dinners at restaurants I couldn't pronounce. Weekend trips to Atlantic City. He met my mother and brought her flowers and fixed the broken hinge on her front door without being asked. Within 6 months, I'd moved out of my studio and into his brownstone in Bay Ridge. Within a year, we were married. Within 2 years, I was pregnant. I'm going to give you everything, he told me the night he proposed. We were on the rooftop of a hotel in Manhattan, the city lights spread out below us like scattered diamonds. You're never going to worry about money again. You're never going to be afraid again. I promise you that. He kept that promise. For a while, the house in Bay Ridge was beautiful. 4 bedrooms, original crown molding, a backyard with a fig tree Vincent's grandfather had planted in the 50s. We had dinners there every Sunday. Vincent's mother, his 2 brothers, their wives, a rotating cast of uncles and cousins and family friends. The table would be covered in food, baked ziti, braciole, sausage and peppers, fresh bread from the bakery on 5th Avenue. The wine flowed, people laughed. Vincent's mother would kiss my cheek and tell me I was too skinny, I needed to eat more. Those dinners felt warm, safe, like I'd finally found the family I'd always wanted. But there were things I noticed. Small things. The men always ate first, then went outside to smoke cigars and talk in low voices. The women stayed in the kitchen. When I tried to follow Vincent outside once, his mother pulled me back gently. Let them talk business, Kara. Come, help me with the coffee. The phone calls that came at odd hours. 2 in the morning, 4. Vincent would get up, go into his office, close the door. I could hear his voice through the walls, sharp and cold in a way it never was with me. The friends who stopped by without calling first. Men in expensive tracksuits and gold chains. Men who looked at me like I was a piece of furniture. Vincent always introduced them. This is Tony. This is Big Mike. This is Sal, but never explained who they were or why they were in our living room drinking espresso at 11 on a Tuesday morning. The cash. So much cash. Vincent kept it in a safe in his office. Stacks of hundreds bound with rubber bands. When I asked about it once, he kissed my forehead and said, "Construction's a cash business, baby. You know how it is." I didn't know how it was. But I wanted to believe him. Our daughter Sophia was born in October 2011. 7 pounds, 6 ounces. Black hair like her father. Vincent cried when he held her. Actually cried. I'd never seen him cry before. She's perfect, he kept saying. She's perfect, Angela. We made something perfect. For a few months, everything felt right. Vincent came home earlier. He took paternity leave from the construction company. We'd stay up late with Sophia between us in bed, watching her sleep, marveling at her tiny fingers, her impossible smallness. During those nights, I felt like maybe I'd been paranoid. Maybe Vincent really was just a successful contractor. Maybe I'd been watching too many mob movies. Then Vincent's brother Marco got arrested. It was all over the news. Federal racketeering charges, loan sharking, extortion. The indictment said Marco was a capo in the Lucchese crime family. A capo. I'd heard that word before, in movies. It meant captain. It meant mafia. I was feeding Sophia when I saw it on the television. My hands started shaking so badly I had to put the bottle down. Vincent came home that night and found me sitting in the dark living room, Sophia asleep in my arms. You saw the news, he said. Not a question. Is it true, Angela? Is it true? He sat down next to me. He smelled like cigarettes and expensive cologne. Marco made some bad decisions. Got involved with the wrong people. What people, Vincent? What people? People you don't need to worry about. Your brother's been indicted on racketeering charges. The news is calling him a mobster. A fucking mobster, Vincent. How am I not supposed to worry? He took my face in his hands. His eyes were dark and serious. Listen to me. Marco's situation has nothing to do with us. Nothing. You and Sophia are safe. I would never let anything touch you. You understand me? Never. What about you? Are you involved with these people? Angela, I run a construction company. That's not an answer. It's the only answer I have. I wanted to press him. I wanted to scream, but Sophia stirred in my arms and made a small sound, and Vincent's hands were warm on my face, and I was so tired. So fucking tired. Please don't lie to me, I whispered. I would never lie to you, he said. That was the first time I knew for certain he was lying. Marco's trial lasted 6 months. He was convicted on 11 counts and sentenced to 23 years in federal prison. Vincent attended every day of the trial. Came home late, wouldn't eat, wouldn't talk. Just poured himself a drink and sat in his office with the door closed. After the sentencing, things changed. Vincent became paranoid. He started checking the house for bugs. Made me leave my phone in the car whenever we talked about anything serious. He stopped using our home phone entirely. Started communicating with his business partners through burner phones he'd throw away after a single conversation. Why are you doing this? I asked him one night. Doing what? Acting like someone's watching you. Maybe someone is. Vincent, what the fuck is going on? He looked at me for a long time. Then he said, the less you know, the safer you are. Trust me on that, but I couldn't not know. Once you start seeing the cracks, you can't unsee them. I started paying attention, really paying attention. The construction company barely had any employees. The office was just a front, a receptionist who answered phones and a couple of guys who moved paperwork around. I went there once to drop off Vincent's lunch and the place felt empty. Dead. The money kept coming, lots of it. Vincent bought me a new car, paid off my student loans, put $100,000 in an account for Sophia's college fund. All cash. The friends who came by the house weren't friends. I realized that. They were subordinates. They called Vincent boss. They stood when he entered a room. They asked permission before sitting down. And there were new faces. Younger guys, early 20s. They'd show up to collect envelopes, deliver packages, get instructions from Vincent. They looked at him like he was God. One night I couldn't sleep. It was maybe 3 in the morning. I went downstairs for water and heard voices in Vincent's office. I stood outside the door and listened. The shipment comes in Tuesday. Jersey docks. You make sure Polly's guys are there to receive it. No fuck-ups this time. What about the money from the Bronx? It's handled. Nicky's collecting Friday. And if he doesn't pay, then you make sure he understands what happens to people who don't pay. Silence. Then Vincent's voice again, colder than I'd ever heard it. I don't care if he's got kids. I don't care if his mother's sick. He borrowed money, he pays it back. With interest. You make that very fucking clear. I backed away from the door. My heart was slamming against my ribs. I went back upstairs and got into bed and stared at the ceiling until the sun came up. The next morning, Vincent kissed me goodbye like everything was normal. Told me he'd be home for dinner. Asked if I needed anything from the store. I looked at him. This man I married, the father of my child, and I didn't recognize him. Who are you? I said. He stopped, turned around. What? I said, who are you? Because the Vincent I married owned a construction company. The Vincent I married didn't have men coming to our house at 3 in the morning to discuss shipments and collections and breaking people's legs. His face went very still. You were listening. I live here, Vincent. It's my house too. Angela, you don't understand what you heard. Then explain it to me. Explain why men call you boss. Explain the cash. Explain why your brother's in prison and you're acting like the FBI's about to kick down our door any second. He crossed the room and grabbed my arms. Not hard enough to hurt, but hard enough that I couldn't pull away. Listen to me very carefully. There are things about my life you don't need to know. Things I've kept from you to protect you. If you start asking questions, if you start digging into shit that doesn't concern you, you're going to put yourself in danger. You're going to put Sophia in danger. Is that what you want? I want the truth. The truth is I love you. The truth is I take care of this family. The truth is everything I do for you and our daughter. That's all you need to know. That's not enough. It's going to have to be. He let go of me and walked out. I stood there shaking, tears running down my face, and I knew that my husband wasn't a construction contractor. He was something else, something darker. I just didn't know how dark yet. The FBI came to my hospital 6 weeks later. 2 agents, a man and a woman. They were waiting in the parking lot when I got off my shift. The woman approached me first. Angela Calabrese? My stomach dropped. Yes, she showed me a badge. I'm Special Agent Catherine Reeves. This is Special Agent David Chen. We'd like to talk to you about your husband. I don't have anything to say. We're not asking you to inform on him, Agent Reeves said. We just want you to understand who you're married to. For your own safety, and your daughter's. That stopped me. Is Sophia in danger? Can we talk somewhere private? We went to a diner 3 blocks away. I sat across from them in a back booth, my hands wrapped around a coffee cup I didn't drink. Agent Chen slid a folder across the table. Do you know what your husband does for a living, Mrs. Calabrese? He owns a construction company. That's what he tells you. The truth is Vincent Calabrese is a high-ranking member of the Lucchese crime family. He runs their loan sharking operations in Queens and Brooklyn. He oversees their sports betting rackets. He manages the drug distribution network from the docks to the streets. He's what we call a street boss. He answers directly to the family administration. I stared at the folder. I didn't open it. Your brother-in-law Marco wasn't a lone actor, Agent Reeves said gently. He was part of a larger organization. So is Vincent. We've been building a case against the family for 3 years. We have wiretaps, surveillance photos, testimony from cooperating witnesses. Vincent's name is all over it. I don't believe you. Open the folder. I didn't want to, but I did. The first photo was Vincent at a restaurant with 5 other men. I recognized 2 of them from Sunday dinners. The caption underneath said, Lucchese Administration Meeting, March 2012. The second photo was Vincent getting into a car with someone the caption identified as Anthony, Fat Tony, Moretti, underboss. The third photo was Vincent counting money in our garage. I remembered that night. I'd been upstairs giving Sophia a bath. There were more, dozens more. Vincent at the docks. Vincent at a social club in Little Italy. Vincent handing an envelope to a man outside a bakery. We know this is difficult, Agent Reeves said. We know you love him. But you need to understand what you're involved in. The Lucchese family is responsible for murders, extortion, drug trafficking. They've killed witnesses. They've killed informants. They've killed people's family members to send messages. Vincent wouldn't hurt me. Maybe not. But the people he works with, they don't care about you. If they think you're a liability, if they think you know too much, if they think you might talk to us, you become a problem. And they solve problems permanently. My hands were shaking. What do you want from me? Right now? Nothing. We just wanted you to know the truth. To know what you're living with. Because when we arrest Vincent, and we will arrest him, your life is going to change. Dramatically. We wanted to give you time to prepare. When? My voice came out as a whisper. We can't tell you that. But soon. Weeks, maybe, months at most. They left me their cards. Told me to call if I needed anything. If I felt unsafe. If I wanted to talk. I sat in that diner for 2 hours after they left, staring at their cards, trying to figure out what the fuck I was supposed to do. I didn't go home right away. I drove to my mother's house in Brooklyn. She was in the kitchen making sauce when I walked in. Took one look at my face and knew something was wrong. What happened? I sat down at her table. The same table I'd eaten at as a child. And I told her everything. The FBI, the photos, what they'd said about Vincent. My mother listened without interrupting. When I finished, she was quiet for a long time. Then she said, I knew. What? I knew what Vincent was. I've known since the beginning. Why didn't you tell me? Would you have believed me? You were so in love. So desperate to believe you'd found someone who would take care of you. How could I take that away? You should have told me, Ma. Maybe, but you were happy. For the first time in your life, you were happy. I couldn't destroy that. She reached across the table and took my hand. What are you going to do? I don't know. Do you still love him? I thought about that. About Vincent holding Sophia when she was born. About the way he looked at me sometimes, like I was the only thing in the world that mattered. About Sunday dinners and lazy mornings in bed and all the small moments that made up a marriage. I don't know, I said again. Then you need to figure it out. Because if the FBI's coming for him, you need to decide if you're going to stand by him or if you're going to save yourself and Sophia. He's my husband. He's a criminal, Angela. He's lied to you for years. He's put you and your daughter in danger. You don't owe him anything. But that wasn't true. I owed him everything. My house, my car, my daughter's future, the safety and security I'd craved my whole life. Vincent had given me all of that. Even if it was built on blood money. I went home that night and acted like everything was normal. Made dinner, fed Sophia, gave her a bath, put her to bed. Vincent came home around 9. Kissed me hello, asked about my day. I told him it was fine. You okay? He asked. You seem quiet, just tired. Why don't you go to bed early? I'll clean up. I went upstairs and lay in the dark and listened to him moving around the house. Washing dishes, locking doors, checking windows, being the man I married. Or the man I thought I married. The next few weeks were surreal. I went through the motions of normal life. Work, errands, playdates with Sophia. But inside I felt like I was falling apart. Every time Vincent left the house, I wondered if it would be the last time I saw him. Every time a car slowed down on our street, I thought it was the FBI coming to arrest him. I started paying closer attention to everything. The conversations Vincent had on the phone. The men who came to the house. The envelopes that were delivered and picked up at all hours. One night Vincent's uncle Carmen came over. He was old school mafia. 70-something, white hair, expensive suits, gold pinky ring. He'd been around since the 50s. Knew everybody. Had survived every war, every investigation, every purge. They sat in the living room drinking grappa while I pretended to watch TV in the kitchen. Their voices carried. Feds are turning up the heat, Uncle Carmen said. They got Bobby bags last week. Frank the Hammer's cooperating. Frank's a rat piece of shit. Frank's doing what he has to do to stay out of prison. You should think about that, Vincent. What's that supposed to mean? It means you got a wife and a kid now. Things are different. You're not some young soldier anymore. You're exposed. The feds know who you are. They're building a case. Maybe it's time to think about your options. I'm not flipping. I'm not saying flip. I'm saying maybe you take a step back. Let someone younger handle the day-to-day. You've made your money. Why not enjoy it? Because that's not how this works and you know it. You don't retire from this life, Uncle Carmen. You die or you go to prison. Silence. Then Uncle Carmine's voice, softer. Then you better make sure Angela and Sophia are taken care of. Because one way or another, you're not going to be around much longer. I went upstairs before they could catch me listening. I sat on the edge of the bed and tried to breathe. You die or you go to prison. Is that what I'd signed up for when I married Vincent? To be a widow or a prisoner's wife? I thought about leaving, taking Sophia and disappearing, changing our names, starting over somewhere the Mafia and the FBI couldn't find us. But where would we go? And what would we live on? Everything we had came from Vincent. The house was in his name. The cars, the bank accounts. If I left, I'd be back where I started, broke, alone, struggling to survive. And Vincent would come looking for us. I knew that. Men like Vincent didn't let their families just walk away. So I stayed, and I waited for the other shoe to drop. It dropped on a Tuesday in March. I was at work when my phone rang. Unknown number. I almost didn't answer. Mrs. Calabrese? A man's voice. Unfamiliar. Yes, this is Detective Ramirez with the NYPD. There's been an incident involving your husband. You need to come to St. Vincent's Hospital right away. My blood turned to ice. Is he okay? What happened? Just get here as fast as you can. I left work without clocking out. Drove to the hospital doing 80 in a 45 zone. My mind was racing. Car accident, heart attack, stroke, anything but what I was really afraid of. When I got to the there were cops everywhere, detectives in cheap suits, uniforms standing guard. I found Detective Ramirez and grabbed his arm. Where's my husband? He's in surgery. He was shot. The floor tilted under me. Shot? What do you mean shot? 3 times. Chest and abdomen. He's stable, but it's serious. Who shot him? We don't know yet. It happened outside a social club in Ozone Park. Someone came up to his car and opened fire. He managed to drive himself here before he collapsed. I couldn't breathe, couldn't think. Can I see him? He's still in surgery. It'll be a few hours. You should sit down, Mrs. Calabrese. You look like you're about to pass out. I sat in the waiting room with a dozen other cops and felt completely alone. Vincent's mother showed up an hour later. His younger brother Dominic, Uncle Carmen. They huddled together talking in low voices, shooting me sympathetic looks but not including me in the conversation. I was family, but I wasn't really family. Not in the way that mattered to them. Vincent came out of surgery around midnight. The doctor said he'd been lucky. The bullets missed his heart and major arteries. He'd need more surgeries, weeks of recovery, but he'd live. Can I see him? I asked. He's sedated. He won't know you're there. I don't care. I need to see him. They let me into the ICU. Vincent was pale, tubes and wires everywhere, machines beeping steadily. I sat next to his bed and took his hand and cried for the first time since the detective called me. I cried because I loved him. I cried because I hated him. I cried because I didn't know which feeling was stronger. Why? I whispered. Why couldn't you just be a normal person? Why did you have to be this? He didn't answer, just lay there breathing with the help of machines. I stayed until the nurses kicked me out. Went home, checked on Sophia, who was asleep at Vincent's mother's house. Sat in our dark living room and waited for the sun to come up. The FBI showed up the next morning. Agents Reeves and Chen. They looked almost apologetic when I opened the door. We heard about Vincent, Agent Reeves said. How is he? He's alive. That's all I know. Can we come in? I let them in because I was too tired to fight. We sat in the same living room where Vincent conducted his business, where he met with mobsters and planned crimes. We think we know who shot your husband, Agent Chen said. Who? A low-level dealer named Marcus Williams. He owed money to one of Vincent's loan sharks. When he couldn't pay, Vincent's people beat him badly, put him in the hospital. Marcus got out last week and decided to get revenge. So it wasn't the Mafia? No, this was personal, but it's going to have consequences. The Lucchese family doesn't let attacks on their leadership go unanswered. There's going to be retaliation. More violence. More bodies. I closed my eyes. What do you want? We want Vincent to cooperate. We want him to testify against the family. In exchange, we'll put all of you in witness protection. New identities, new city, a fresh start. Vincent will never do that. He might if it means keeping you and Sophia safe. The family's going to assume he's weak now. Vulnerable. They're going to move against him. His only chance is to work with us. Or he could just get better and go back to being a criminal. Agent Reeves leaned forward. Mrs. Calabrese, your husband has been shot 3 times. Someone tried to murder him. Even if the family doesn't turn on him, even if he recovers and goes back to business as usual, this is your life now. Violence, danger, waiting for the next bullet. Is that what you want for your daughter? No. Then help us convince him to cooperate. They left me their cards again. Told me to think about it. Told me to talk to Vincent when he woke up. I didn't throw the cards away this time. Vincent regained consciousness 2 days later. I was there when he opened his eyes. He looked at me and tried to smile. Hey, beautiful. Hey, my voice cracked. Where's Sophia? With your mother. She's safe. Good. He tried to sit up and winced. Fuck, don't move. You're going to tear your stitches. He settled back against the pillows. They catch the guy who shot me? Not yet. The FBI thinks it was a dealer you went after. Marcus. Yeah, I figured. Vincent, we need to talk. Not now, Angela. I'm tired. Now, because I don't know if I'm going to get another chance. I pulled my chair closer to his bed. The FBI came to see me. They want you to cooperate. Testify against the family. In exchange, they'll put us in witness protection. He stared at me for a long moment. Then he laughed. It turned into a cough and he grabbed his chest in pain. Are you fucking serious? Dead serious. I'm not ratting, Angela. Why not? Why are you protecting these people? They don't care about you. They don't care about us. You almost died, Vincent. Someone shot you 3 times and left you to bleed out in the street. Where were your friends then? You don't understand. No, you don't understand. I'm done with this. I'm done lying to myself about what you are and what you do. I'm done being afraid every time you leave the house. I'm done wondering if Sophia's going to grow up without a father because someone put a bullet in your head. Angela, I want out, Vincent. I want us to have a normal life. I want to stop looking over my shoulder. I want our daughter to be safe. And the only way that happens is if you cooperate with the FBI. If I flip, I'm dead. You get that, right? The family will kill me. They'll kill everyone I love. That's what happens to rats. They'll kill you anyway. You said it yourself. You either die or go to prison. At least this way there's a chance. A chance for us to survive. To be together. He looked at me with so much pain in his eyes. I can't do it. I can't be that person. Then what happens to us? I'll protect you. I'll always protect you. How? From a prison cell? From a grave? Vincent, please, just think about it. He closed his eyes. Get out. What? I said get out. I need to rest. I stood up. My legs felt shaky. I love you, but I can't keep doing this. Something has to change. Nothing's going to change, Angela. This is who I am. You knew that when you married me. No, I didn't. I knew what you let me see. But now I see all of it. And I don't know if I can live with it anymore. I left before he could respond. Walked out of the hospital and sat in my car and screamed until my throat hurt. Vincent came home 3 weeks later. He was weak, moving slowly, but alive. His mother hired a nurse to help him during the day. I went back to work. We barely spoke. The tension in the house was suffocating. Sophia could feel it. She was only 3, but kids know when something's wrong. She'd climb into bed between us at night, like she was trying to hold us together. The retaliation agent Chen predicted happened a week after Vincent got home. Marcus Williams was found in a dumpster in East New York. He'd been tortured before he was killed. The news said it was gang-related. I knew better. Vincent's friends started coming by again. More meetings, more envelopes, more conversations in low voices. He was jumping back into business like nothing had happened. You're not even going to slow down? I asked him one night. I can't afford to. I look weak right now. People are watching to see if I'm still strong enough to lead. You were shot 3 times, Vincent. You're not weak for taking time to recover. That's not how it works in my world. Then maybe you should find a new world. He looked at me like I'd suggested he grow wings and fly. This is the only world I've ever known. That's the saddest thing I've ever heard. 2 months after Vincent got shot, the FBI made their move. They arrested 17 members of the Lucchese family in a coordinated sweep. Capos, soldiers, associates. The indictments were massive: racketeering, murder, drug trafficking, extortion. The feds had been listening to everything for years. Vincent wasn't arrested, not yet, but his name was in the indictment. As a co-conspirator, as a target, they were building the case against him, Agent Reeves told me when she called. It's only a matter of time, she said. He can still cooperate. The offer's still on the table. I didn't tell Vincent about the call. I was past the point of fighting with him. The arrests sent shockwaves through the family. Suddenly everyone was paranoid. Who was wearing a wire? Who was talking to the feds? Who was going to flip to save themselves? Vincent's phone rang constantly. Meetings every night. He'd come home at 3, 4 in the morning, smelling like cigarettes and stress. They're going to come for you, I said one night. You know that, right? I know. And what's your plan? Go to prison and leave Sophia and me with nothing? I've got money set aside. You'll be taken care of. I don't want money, Vincent. I want you, but I want the version of you that isn't a criminal. The version that could have been happy running an actual construction company and coming home for dinner and growing old with me. That version never existed, Angela. I've been in this life since I was 16. This is who I am. Then I don't know if I can stay. The words hung in the air between us. I'd never said it out loud before. The threat of leaving, of breaking our family apart. Vincent's face went hard. Where would you go? I don't know. Somewhere Sophia and I can be safe. You're safe with me, am I? Because it doesn't feel that way anymore. He grabbed my arm, not violently, but firm enough that I couldn't pull away. Listen to me. You're my wife. Sophia's my daughter. You don't just leave. You don't just walk away from this family. Let go of me, Angela. I said let go of me. He released me, took a step back. We stared at each other like strangers. I'm sorry, he said finally. I'm sorry I brought you into this. I'm sorry I can't be what you want me to be. But I can't change, and I can't let you leave. You can't stop me. You think I can't? You think if you try to disappear with my daughter, I won't find you? There's nowhere you can go that I won't reach you, Angela. Nowhere. It wasn't a threat, it was a promise, and it terrified me. That night, while Vincent was asleep, I called Agent Reeves. I want to talk, I said, about my options. We met the next day at the same diner. I told her everything, about the fights with Vincent, about his refusal to cooperate, about the fear that was consuming me. What can you do for me and Sophia? I asked. If Vincent won't flip, can you still help us? Agent Reeves exchanged a look with Agent Chen. We can try, if you're willing to testify about what you've seen and heard. The conversations, the meetings, the money. It might not be enough to convict Vincent on its own, but it could support the larger case against the family. And in exchange, witness protection for you and Sophia. A new life, away from all of this. What about Vincent? If he's convicted, he'll go to prison. For a long time. You'll be safe. I thought about Sophia, about the life she deserved. A life without fear, without violence, without waiting for her father to come home in a body bag. Okay, I said, I'll do it. The next 2 months were a nightmare. I wore a wire to family dinners, recorded conversations in my own home, provided the FBI with documents, photos, anything they could use to build their case. I felt like a traitor, like a rat, like everything Vincent had taught me to despise. But I also felt like I was finally taking control of my life. Vincent didn't notice. He was too consumed with managing the fallout from the arrests, keeping the family together, staying one step ahead of the feds. He barely looked at me anymore. I wondered if he'd figured it out, if he knew what I was doing. But he never said anything, never confronted me. Maybe he didn't want to know. The FBI moved on Vincent in late August. Early morning raid. They smashed through the front door while Sophia and I were still in bed. I heard Vincent shouting, heard the agents yelling, heard Sophia screaming. I grabbed her and held her close while they dragged Vincent out in handcuffs. He looked at me as they led him past our bedroom door. His eyes were full of hurt and rage and betrayal. He knew. In that moment, he knew. "You fucking bitch," he said. Just loud enough for me to hear. Then they took him away. The media circus was insane. News trucks outside our house. Reporters shouting questions every time I left. Headlines calling Vincent a mob boss, calling me a mafia wife. My picture was everywhere. Agent Reeves moved Sophia and me to a safe house that same day. A nondescript apartment in New Jersey with bars on the windows and a guard outside. We lived there for 6 weeks while the FBI prepared for trial. I testified in front of a grand jury, told them everything I knew. About the meetings, the money, the conversations I'd overheard. About Vincent's role in the family. About the violence I'd witnessed secondhand. It was the hardest thing I'd ever done. Vincent's lawyer tried to destroy me on the stand. Called me a liar, a gold digger, a woman scorned. Said I was making things up to get revenge because Vincent was having an affair. That last part wasn't even true. As far as I knew, Vincent had never cheated on me. But the lawyer didn't care about truth. He cared about creating doubt. The trial lasted 3 months. I testified for 2 days. Sat there while Vincent stared at me from the defense table with pure hatred in his eyes. The jury convicted him on 14 counts. Racketeering, loan sharking, money laundering, conspiracy to commit murder. The judge sentenced him to 35 years in federal prison. He'll be 73 when he gets out. If he lives that long. After the sentencing, Agent Reeves took me aside. "It's time," she said. "We need to get you and Sophia into the program." "Can I see him? One last time?" "That's not a good idea, Angela. Please, just 5 minutes. I need closure." She arranged it. Vincent was being held at the Metropolitan Detention Center in Brooklyn pending transfer to a federal penitentiary. They let me visit him in a small room with a guard outside. He looked terrible, thin, gray, 10 years older than when they arrested him. "What do you want?" he asked. I wanted to explain. "Explain what?" "How you betrayed me, how you destroyed our family, how you put the father of your child in prison for the rest of his life. I did it to protect Sophia, to protect myself. You wouldn't listen, Vincent. You wouldn't walk away. You forced my hand. I loved you. I gave you everything. You gave me a lie. You gave me a life built on blood and crime. You put us in danger every single day and you didn't care as long as you could play mob boss." He stood up. The guard tensed, but Vincent just looked at me with so much pain. "I hope it was worth it, Angela. I hope your new life makes you happy. Because you killed me, you might as well have put a gun to my head and pulled the trigger yourself. Vincent, get out, and don't ever come back. As far as I'm concerned, you're dead to me. Both of you." I left without saying goodbye. The FBI moved us to a small town in the Midwest. New names, new social security numbers, new everything. I became Jennifer Walsh. Sophia became Emma. We told people we were a widow and her daughter, starting fresh after a tragic accident. No one questioned it. I got a job at a hospital. Made some friends. Sophia started kindergarten. We lived in a quiet house on a quiet street and nothing bad happened. It was exactly what I wanted. It was also lonely as hell. At night, I'd lie awake and think about Vincent. About the man I fell in love with. The man who made me feel safe and loved and important. I'd remember Sunday dinners and late-night conversations and the way he'd hold me when I was scared. Then I'd remember the other Vincent. The one who threatened people. Who ordered violence. Who chose the mafia over his own family. I don't know which version was real. Maybe they both were. Sophia doesn't remember much about her father. She was only 4 when we left. Sometimes she asks about him. I tell her he was a complicated man who made some bad choices. That he loved her very much. That he's gone now and it's just the 2 of us. She seems satisfied with that answer. For now. Last year, I got a letter. It was forwarded through the FBI, heavily redacted. But I recognized Vincent's handwriting. It just said, "I forgive you. Take care of our daughter." I cried for 3 days. The Mafia didn't kill me. It took everything else. My name, my identity, my family, my history, the person I used to be. Sometimes I see men who look like Vincent. Same build, same walk. My heart stops for a second. Then they turn around and it's a stranger and I remember where I am. Who I am now. I'm Jennifer Walsh. I'm a nurse in a small Midwestern town. I have a daughter named Emma who's doing well in school. I go to PTA meetings and grocery shop and live a completely normal, boring life. And some days that's enough. But on the hard days, when Sophia asks about her father, when I see a news story about the Mafia, when I catch a glimpse of that old life in the rearview mirror, I wonder if I made the right choice. I wonder if Vincent's rotting in prison hating me. I wonder if the family will ever find us. I wonder if I'll spend the rest of my life looking over my shoulder, waiting for the past to catch up. Because that's the thing about the Mafia. It doesn't matter if you leave. It doesn't matter if you change your name or move across the country or start a new life. It never really lets you go. I learned that the hard way. And I'll carry it with me forever.